mystic rites, ceremonial sex, sadistic killing. Some of history's most shocking crimes have come from cults. Using the guise of faith and selflessness, cults draw us into a world of fear, obedience, and ultimate sacrifice. Though cults can evolve into more established, well-respected religions, most collapse into tragedy or disaster. Cults share certain defining characteristics. In a cult, leaders recruit members through deceptive techniques that rob them of their identity and individuality. Experts have termed these techniques thought reform.
Thought reform is a systematic effort which has two stages. One is the breakdown stage with heavy confession and a breakdown of one's own psychic integrity. And then there's the second stage, which is re-education, trying to remake a person into a new person.
The system itself is not based on drugs. It's not based on hypnosis, which is what the Manchurian Candidate had tried to suggest to the public. Manchurian Candidate was a great movie, but its system was a fable. That level of hypnosis has never existed, and people are not robots. In fact, when you've been subject to brainwashing, you still have freedom of choice. But your choices are based upon what you believe. That's how we make choices. And your beliefs have been changed. And your allegiances have been changed. Your family has been changed. And therefore, you will choose based upon your new family, your new values, your new allegiance, and your new beliefs.
According to the Collins English Dictionary, a cult is a quasi-religious organisation using devious psychological techniques to gain and control adherents.
Thought reform began with Mao converting China to communism in China. And what he had learned through process of trial and error was then used in the prisons. But it was initially used in the universities in China. And you had people being told that they were sick and they needed help and needed to be part of the new society, who came voluntarily looking to change and to have benefits. And under that state of mind, transference and success, brainwashing success, was far greater than it was in prisons, where people did not necessarily come in looking to change for benefits. So when you transform to the United States and our society today, when people come into groups already thinking, I want this, you know, they're halfway there before you ever begin.
I used to think that people would have to be mildly mentally ill or pretty severely mentally ill to be drawn into a cult. And I totally disagree with that now.
If it has a hierarchical structure with a leader who believes that he is either God himself or he has a direct line of communication with God and has an absolute authority over his followers and won't stand for any sort of questioning of his authority, then you're probably going a long way to having really a cult.
They say that a cult becomes a cult insofar as it sees itself as having a hostile relationship to the world outside.
The cult leader is the perfect example of an extreme narcissistic personality.
The cult leaders have early experiences of neglect, of abandonment, of disappointment in parental figures and authorities.
Leading a cult where critical faculties are suspended, where people are mere instruments of gratification, where discipline is maintained, where criticism is unheard of. This is the wet dream of the narcissist, to be at the center of a group of unreflecting, unthinking, totally obedient people.
Bob Pardon has studied cults for 15 years. He runs a self-help group for victims and believes religion is the perfect tool for a narcissist to control others.
We're going to be dealing this time with narcissistic personality disorder. And a number of years ago, Judy and I came across the material of a man by the name of Sam Vaknin. And you've probably never heard of this man before, but we have found that his material has been extremely helpful to us in working with folks who have come out of destructive groups. Well, from our perspective, the profile of a cult leader seems to fit almost like a hand in a glove a narcissistic personality disorder. MPDs are drawn to cult leadership primarily because religion is tailor-made for their fantasies. What better manifestation than to be like God?
The trick isn't so much the leader, or everyone thinks there's somebody who's working, on one person. The trick is the group. It's the person who's the most influential is the person who's most like you, who's maybe been there a year and a half, and he says to you, "Hey, Paul, I was kind of like you, and I had the same problems you did, and I got to tell you, man, it worked for me." And then everyone chimes in, and everyone says how much they want this, and they all seem to be so happy and smiling, and you kind of want that stuff. So it's the guy who's further along the programs that draws you in, not so much the leader who's spouting all the philosophy. It's the group pressure. Simple things like singing songs, simple things of going out and playing together. Anything that bonds people together into a group, and then all you have to do is lead the group. It's what Freud called the herd instinct. And we are subject to it. We adopt to our environments. But at the same time, there's additional pressures. And that is, the key is confession. We all have guilt. We all have things that we think we wish we hadn't done. We all think we hurt our mom or our brother, or we did something wrong, or Dad did something wrong to me. And so two things that go on is to have the person build the confession. In Mayo's world, in universities and the prison camps, the confessions were never good enough. It was, go back and write more. You haven't confessed enough. And when you finally made your pure confession of what Dad did to me and what Mom did to me, the message is implied is that, Dad and Mommy were never very good anyway. Denounce your dad, denounce your mom. We're your mom and dad now. And separate from your family. And this is a new family. And often, like the SLA and Manson, people are given new names. Just to further. And then you put them in an outfit. You shave their heads and big overalls. You all wear orange. Maybe it's polyester suits, whatever it is, so that you all start to look alike, and you bond stronger.
Cults don't work. They don't deliver what they promise. You get in and you think that it's holy and it's wonderful and it's great, and it stinks to be in a constricted, narrow, fear-driven, anxiety-driven, alienated from your talents and abilities in many cases.
One can say that when groups are very intense in their declaration that the world will end, and in their preparation for it, they might potentially become violent. But the potential for violence is not a crime.
As long as reason can be eclipsed by faith, there will be those who use religion to exploit, and those who give up their free will to a charismatic cult leader. Police only step in after laws have been broken, and in the world of the cult, this is often too late. The key to preventing tragedy is the individual, confronting and defying the power of the cult.